Welcome to Lesson 4, Part 1 on Factors. In today's lesson, we will discuss what is a factor and how we can use factors in order to solve math problems. Let's first discuss the definition of a factor. When you multiply numbers to get a product, the numbers themselves are called factors. A prime number is a number whose only factors are itself and 1. So let's think about this with the number 12. What did we multiply in order to get the number 12? I can do 12 times 1, I can do 6 times 2, and I can also do 3 times 4. So all those numbers, when multiplied in the right ways, are factors of the number 12. Let's think about finding a number and finding its factors. So let's take the number 24. In order to do so, we will construct a factor tree. We will find two factors of 24, and for this case, we will use 6 and 4. We will then need to find two factors of those two factors, and in this case, 3 and 2 and 2 and 2, which end up being the prime factors of 24 since those numbers are prime. We will then take this term, greatest common factor, and expand upon it to think about how we can compare factors between different numbers. So imagine we are constructing soccer teams from a certain amount of boys and a certain amount of girls, and we want to make equal-sized soccer teams with an equal amount of boys and girls on each team. So let's go ahead and find the greatest common factor between two numbers. Let's say that we have 12 girls and 20 boys to choose from to build these equal teams. So let's find the factors of both of those numbers. For the first row of factors, we know that a factor of 12 is 6 and 2, and the factors of 20 are 4 and 5. Well, some of those numbers will need to continue to find factors. The factors of 6 are 3 and 2, and the factors of 4 are 2 and 2. So now we will use the prime factors that we see those numbers have in common. And since we have two pairs of 2, we'll multiply 2 and 2 together to give us our greatest common factor, in this case, 4. This 4 means that 4 equal teams can be made with equal amounts of boys and girls out of the numbers that we had. So let's think about some bigger numbers, and let's think about maybe making Halloween trick-or-treat bags. So let's see how big we can get these numbers and reduce to find the greatest common factors. I have 144 lollipops, 96 chocolates. So I'm going to have to find the factors of these numbers, and I'm going to set aside a Venn diagram in order to help me use another strategy to do this. Let's find the factors of 144. Well, two of the numbers that come to mind real quick are two 12s, and each 12 can be broken down into 4 and 3. And 4 and 3. Both 4s of this can be broken down into 2 and 2, and another in 2 and 2, leaving us with our 6 prime factors, 2, 2, 3, and 2, 2, 3. I'll do the same thing with 96. 96 is broken down into a 24 and a 4. A 4 breaks down into 2 and 2, and it's finished. The 24 then breaks down to a 6 and a 4, and both of those numbers break down, the 6 to a 3 and a 2, and the 4 to a 2 and a 2. Each of these numbers had 6 prime factors. So let's go to our Venn diagram and compare and see what we have in common and see what we can put in the middle and what gets kind of thrown out and left on the outside. Since they both have two 2s, let's start canceling out some numbers. 2 and a 2, and we'll put a 2 in the middle. Another pair of 2s means another 2 in the middle. Now I have a pair of 3s to pick from, so I cancel those out and put a 3 in the middle. Yet another pair of 2s and put the 2 in the middle. I have one final pair of 2s. I put my last 2 in the middle, and the remaining 3 gets left on the outside here, and the remaining 2 without a pair gets left on the outside on the right side there. So now let's think. I multiply all those factors I had in common, 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 3, and I will get 48. So 48 is the greatest common factor, or the number of bags I can make with an equal amount of lollipops and chocolates. So where do I find the connections to greatest common factors? Well, of course, if I'm grouping things and looking to make equal groups, but especially when I'm trying to find the dimensions of certain shapes, the dimensions of certain objects. Continue to practice with factors and finding greatest common factors, as it will become very important in other parts of math.